Just act pitiful and he'll open his wallet. It's an emotional ATM. If I hadn't heard it with my own ears, I'd never have believed those words came from Cynthia, my cousin whose final year of college tuition I paid, whom I drove to the hospital to give birth when her family wasn't around, whose first car down payment I covered so she wouldn't have to take the bus to work in Chicago's winter. That Zoom call was supposed to be harmless, planning Grandpa's birthday, discussing where to hold it, who'd bring what. I'd planned to leave early, exhausted from a long workday, and thinking I didn't need to stick around for the trivial chatter. But instead of clicking leave meeting, I accidentally muted my mic and kept my earbuds in. As I got up to grab a glass of water from the kitchen, Cynthia's voice came through without a hint of hesitation. Just say you need books for the kids or hospital bills for Mom, and he'll pull out his wallet. Easier than ordering Starbucks. We've all done it. He's an emotional ATM. Then came the laughter, Cynthia's, a few others, my family's. My entire body went cold. I didn't say anything, didn't text back, didn't unmute to demand an explanation. I just sat there in my small kitchen, still holding the undrunk glass of water, staring at the glowing LED screen filled with familiar faces. And in that moment, I understood everything. I, the one who thought he was helping family. I, the one who believed kindness would be repaid with decency or at least respect. All these years, I'd just been a tool. More precisely, a wallet. A wallet that smiled, paid, and hurt, but never had the right to speak up. I'm not an extraordinary man. No Ivy League scholarships, no social media millions, no real estate empire or fancy investment funds. I'm just a software engineer with a steady job in Denver, living simply, budgeting carefully, and most importantly, hating to see my family struggle. Maybe because I grew up in a household where money was always tight, bills arrived before paychecks, dinner was often instant noodles or discounted fried chicken, and buying health insurance for grandma sparked month-long arguments. As a kid, I promised myself, when I could, I'd be the one to carry the load. And I did just that. When my aunt was diagnosed with diabetes and insurance didn't cover everything, I paid nearly $6,000 in hospital bills, never late. When my cousin's kid got into a tech school but couldn't afford the first semester, I wrote a $12,000 check, no thanks expected. When my sister's roof leaked after a winter storm, I sent $8,200 to fix it, even while paying off my own condo. When Cynthia, yes, that Cynthia, needed a car to take Mom to doctor's appointments regularly, I covered the $3,500 down payment without asking for a repayment date. How much more? I can't recall at all. Some were $300 for books, others $1,000 for emergencies. Some were cleverly disguised with lines like, I know you're busy, but the kids need laptops for online school. Just this once, please. It's just a loan. I'll pay back next month with my tax refund. Liam, bro, can I borrow a bit to cover rent? Otherwise, we're out on the street. I gave, quietly, no signatures, no interest, no IOUs. Because I thought, they're family. But after 12 years, when I added it up, the total was nearly $50,000. And what broke my heart wasn't the money. It was that not one person ever said thank you. Instead, I heard things like, Liam's got it, he doesn't mind giving. The guy makes money and lives alone, what's he spending it on? He's too nice, just get teary-eyed and he's done. No one asked if I was okay. No one remembered my birthday. No one invited me to dinner, not even for cold pizza or Costco cake. To them, I wasn't a son, brother, uncle, or friend. I was just a wallet, an emotional ATM soft enough to melt, lonely enough not to say no, and foolish enough to call kindness a duty. I didn't get angry. I didn't yell during the Zoom call, didn't send confrontational texts, didn't call anyone to sort things out. I turned off the computer, turned off the light, sat in the dark living room like a shadow. At that moment, I didn't know if I was hurting or waking up. But one thing I knew, things would never be the same. The next morning, I woke at 5 a.m., made coffee as usual. Nothing seemed different except my hands no longer shook. I opened my laptop, logged into my bank, and began. Canceled all automatic payments, electricity for my sister's house, tuition for my nephew, the loan for Aunt 3, the car lease in my name that Cynthia faithfully repaid with thank you emojis. Closed the joint credit account with 2 relatives, the one I opened because it's temporary. We don't have good credit yet. Liam, just put your name on it for a bit. Revoked family access to payment platforms I'd shared. From phone bills to streaming accounts, they added countless devices to without asking me. No warning, no long letter, no sighing into a webcam. Just a few clicks, and for the first time in 12 years, I truly regained control of my own accounts. 3 days later, the phone started ringing. First, my sister, voice sharp. Liam, our power got cut off. What did you do with that card in your name? You know the kids are studying online, right? Then a text from my aunt. Hospital bills aren't paid. They're calling about debt. You cut support without telling anyone. What's that about? And then, Cynthia. One text. You're so petty. All this over a joke? A joke? I laughed, but it was silent. Just a shiver down my spine. They didn't ask, are you okay? They didn't say, we crossed a line. They just demanded. And when they weren't indulged, they reacted the way entitled people do. They called me selfish. They said I was ungrateful, though I was the one who'd given nearly $50,000 without asking for a cent back. They accused me of making a big deal over one comment, but I was ready. I compiled every receipt, confirmation email, and bank transaction from 12 years, organized by recipient, date, purpose. A spreadsheet over 14 pages long, transparent, detailed, no judgment, just facts. Then I sent it to the whole family with a short message. If I'm truly a wallet, here's what you've withdrawn from me. No interest, no hurt calculated. And to close, I attached the Zoom recording from minute 41:13 to 41:45. Cynthia's voice, unedited, uncut. The laughter of those who'd said they loved me, who'd texted, "You're the best in the family." I didn't wait for apologies. I just wanted them to face what they'd pretended didn't exist. No shouting. I simply withdrew my hand, and they fell on their own. After I sent the spreadsheet and recording, things went quiet for longer than usual. No apologies. No one admitted fault. Just vague texts, half blaming, half playing victim. How are the kids supposed to manage now? I only borrowed a bit, didn't think you'd track every dime. Liam, families don't keep score like that. I read them all silently, didn't reply. I didn't need to win. I just needed them to know I was awake. And I was done. A week later, we had a family gathering, the first in-person one since the pandemic. Everyone came. No one mentioned the Zoom call. They greeted me politely, cautiously, with a heavy air of performance. I sat at the dinner table like an audience member who knew the script, but for the first time, I didn't feel like a background character in someone else's story. After the meal, I asked to speak, something important to announce. The room fell silent. I stepped into the middle of the living room holding a folder. My voice wasn't loud, but clear enough for every word to be heard. The inheritance from Grandma and Grandpa, the portion in my name, including the savings and half the land in Montana, I'm not keeping it. Eyes shot up. My sister frowned. Cynthia stopped sipping her water. My aunt's hand froze mid-air. I've worked with a lawyer, and I'm transferring nearly all of it to your kids. I turned to look at their children, playing outside, one nibbling a cookie, another jumping rope, another fixing a bike with their dad. I can't raise them for you, but I can hope. Hope that, when they grow up, they won't choose to live like their parents. I didn't say it with malice. I spoke as someone who'd hit the bottom of disappointment, but still didn't want to sow hatred. I just didn't want to repeat that cycle anymore, the abuse, the selfishness dressed up as family, the dismissal of kindness as if it were an obligation tied to a bank account. The living room went silent, as if someone had cut the power. No one spoke. Some jaws dropped, some eyes fell to the floor, but no one argued. No one dared. Because in that moment, they knew I'd stepped out of the role. No more foolish Liam, always smiling and writing checks. No more emotional ATM. Just a man who'd been through enough to understand that kindness doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. I left the gathering early, not for drama, but because I had nothing more to say. I left the folder of copies on the table. Whoever needed it could look. Whoever didn't, that was their choice too. On the drive home, the breeze felt unusually cool. The radio played an instrumental track, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. No anger, No hope for a late apology. I just thought, it's done, it's enough. I don't call what I did revenge. I call it reclaiming justice for myself. After all, I didn't wait for anyone to suffer so I could gloat. I didn't wish for them to taste their own medicine or pay a price. What I wanted was a life where I didn't need anyone's permission to be kind. Not a work trip, not a family wedding, but enjoyment for me. The destination, Portland, Oregon, home to old bookstores I'd loved since college, golden leaf paths I'd seen in photos but never walked. I packed 2 things, a small backpack and a heart lighter by $50,000. I read more, walked more, smiled at strangers more easily. I ate breakfast in silence, not while reading loan requests. I slept well, not from exhaustion, but because my mind was no longer weighed down by invisible calculations. And I gave again, but this time to those who truly needed it. I joined a nonprofit supporting lonely seniors, people with no family, no close friends, sometimes no one to say their name on their birthday. I spent hours listening to Ruth talk about her youth as a librarian. I helped Ted track down a grandchild he'd lost contact with for over a decade. I taught Louis how to use email so he could send a few lines to his late wife. Even if she can't read it, I still want to write, he said. There, I wasn't a wallet. I was a person valued not for the money I pulled out, but for the presence I brought. And my family? They went silent. No more, hey bro, I need help quick texts. No more midnight calls with, I know it's bad to bother, but... They avoided me at memorials and weddings, and strangely I felt relieved. No more entitlement. No more role as Liam, the man who couldn't say no. I heard from an acquaintance that they're embarrassed when I'm around. I didn't hope for that, but if it makes them think, maybe that's the lesson they need. Because for years, I was the only one learning about boundaries. Now it's their turn. Boundaries aren't coldness. Boundaries are loving yourself enough not to let others turn kindness into a habit of exploitation. And I, Liam, am no longer an emotional ATM. I'm a person giving to the right people in the right way. Share your story below. It might help someone living like Liam find their way out. Like, comment, and subscribe to keep following stories of justice where good people learn to protect themselves.